Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like you to know that pre me taking us live, my question was, what's the worst thing you've ever done and you don't want to have people know about? And then I recorded it and put it on stream for everybody. Not exactly what happened, but you know, sometimes you just got to let people go live and not let them know about it.
Brad's just trying to get me in trouble. That's all he's trying to do.
Brad Chester, I have Mr. Sean, Dice with Rice. See, I said it so smooth that time. Well, my brain's firing. It's not easier to do things, you know? We are going to talk about what are the top 5 factions in Warhammer, why, and what we're trying to do about it. Not as much as we're trying to change the rules about it. That came out completely wrong, as usual. I said something where my meaning was something completely different. We're going to say why and how do you manage those things? What are you doing about it? Why are they so good? What kind of battlefield roles do the things that they have play, and what can you try to do about it with your particular armies, or just understanding how you can take one of your other top 5 armies and beat those other 4 armies that are there. I'm still sad that this wasn't our thumbnail is our first slide today, because it makes me so happy. Why aren't my NIDs winning? I'm also confused at this. I am the dude standing there. Let's talk about Eldar. My pointy-eared favorite faction that I haven't played all of 10th edition. But they're number 1. I mean, kind of. They're number 1 in the stats, but CSM's number 1.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's some up and comers, and we'll get to them. But we gotta start with Eldar. They've been here for a while, but this is not just complaining about them. We're going to talk about actually why for the people who don't know.
It's a big deal because of the fact that let's talk about the combinations. So basically, Eldar have a combination of game altering rules. They have a ton of powerful units, but the biggest thing is also everything's fast. You win the game of 40k in the movement phase, and you take the fastest army in the game, give them ridiculous rules and game altering mechanics. They're probably going to do all right. And oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the rerolls and or cheating.
Yeah, they're just cheating. Yeah, just straight up, just making their die whatever they feel like.
I mean, 1+ saves has it. He goes, Eldar number 1, and that's including every army teching specifically to beat them. And one of the armies literally being exactly what you need to beat them. And they're still winning at almost 60%. It's just nuts. And here's one of the biggest reasons why I want to go to this data sheets, because I knew that Eldar were deep, and then Sean made this slide. And I started looking at it, and then I realized, oh yeah, he didn't include a bunch of the other units that are still crazy. We have that unit, that army that literally did super well over the weekend, that had the triple fire dragons and falcons and stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, they have crazy mechanics that are just literally bonkers, and people are like, yeah, that's not good enough to go into my army. Like, what? So
yeah, we talked about that actually for a second. This is not everything. If you're looking at this and going, hey, where's my awesome unit, it's there. There is actually so much going on in Eldar that I'm going to make a bold statement here that I think their win rate is a little suppressed because you have too many options that it's hard to know which one is perfect for your event because everything is really good. Especially bringing in kind of the European tech with Fuegan, who's now making his way into a lot of US lists. And Fuegan's not on here either.
If you took out Guardians, I think I could actually win a tournament by throwing darts at the Elder Codex. Just being like, all right, cool, I'm playing whatever I come up with.
Yep.
There's no bad. Give me a bad unit. The Guardians are bad.
The Shadow Spectre Exarch. Only because you don't want to take it.
I was just saying, cool. Still not a bad data sheet because the unit's amazing. Great. I won't take the guy that you don't need for that awesome unit. Give me an actual bad unit. Guardians are already off the board. They are bad.
Both sets? Because if you went with Guardians, I'm going to go Storm Guardians.
I said Guardians off the table.
All right. I think bad is hard. Not great. Howling Banshees aren't great.
Fine.
They're fine.
You have a middling unit that has a really awesome, that if you put their or Phoenix Lord with them would actually perform. It just doesn't perform to Eldar levels. It was literally Joe from Datasheet from Meta Monday literally had my favorite thing over the weekend, which was Eldar had a meh weekend for them, which was 55% win rate and 3 GT wins. You're like, what? Like, yeah, a down week. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, but this is the first step. If you're watching and you don't understand why, maybe you didn't realize, like Brad, that you're slotting all these units in and out, and suddenly like you realize they're just good. You almost can't go wrong. The Flyers, I would not take the Flyers, although they do have Bright Lances, and Bright Lances are pretty good for the reasons we'll get to.
And they also have full rerolls.
Again, it's combinations of
dice manipulation. Well, let's talk about this. Strands of Fate was completely busted when it first came out because of devastating wounds. Now it's still probably not as good as old Strands, to be honest, because you got more dice now. If you could think about if you had old Strands with today's rules, that they're all 6s.
Oh man, how I do not
seriously
like that.
Think about that. With Uthway, for instance, 2 rerolls and 5 dice. So
yeah,
Strands of Fate can basically have you put whatever you want. Old Strands of Fate would even be more busted. And then you've, of course, got Fate's Messenger, which just auto gets put on someone, probably.
Yeah, usually the Spirit Seer. Yeah. Usually the Spirit Seer for that
Spirit Seer, and he basically takes that, and he can treat any 1 die per turn as a 6. And then, of course, you have rerolls, and you just have their base detachment roll, which is a reroll to hit and a reroll to wound on every unit, which just makes things that normally wouldn't be as consistent. I don't know, taking Warwalkers with 2 Bright Lances makes them really good, or Fire Prisms, which have 1 reroll, and then you put the other reroll. You're like, wait a second, am I rerolling both my dice every time to hit and wound? That seems better. Maybe I will shoot this big gun.
Yeah, and there's a specific reason I put these together, is that they all work together. One of these you look at and you go, okay, that's not, the most broken thing ever. But when you start combining these D6 weapons, D6 plus 2 weapons, you combine it with the rerolls, with changing things to 6s, with changing something else to 6, because yes, you can do that in the same unit. Those weapons now don't read D6 plus 2, they just read 8. And that is just absolutely bonkers to think about. When you take whatever model you want to look at in your army and just say, what happens if it loses 8 wounds? A lot of stuff just dies on the spot, and other stuff just can't take another hit like that. And Eldar are like, I got you. I'm going to do that again.
Well, it's also they can use the rest of their dice. You're like, hey, you've got 5 wounds left. Cool, I use a 3. You know what I mean? It's not an abusive die. It's just why take a chance? Done. I'm going to go with 1+ saves on this. I've been saying this literally from the beginning, that if you replace a die, I don't care if it's a Fate dice, a Miracle dice, an anything die, it should not count as a 6 for being a devastating wound, for instance. It should just count as a success. You know what I mean? That's it. It just drives me crazy on those. But I will not. I could do this entire hour about how that's botched. But yes, and the answer is yes. Let's talk about some of their other rules, though, because I wish I might hunt Phantasm into the sun tonight. It's still bullshit. Why? this literally is I want other people to not like me. What can I do right away? You're like, how about if I move at the end of their movement phase? What can they do about it? They can watch me do it. It's still pretty annoying. It used to be everything. Now it's infantry. But, man, that's still pretty irritating. Also, the fact that they go, hey, I noticed that you're completely done. You'd be real bummed if I was out of line of sight, or if I moved in the way, or if I stole your objective. So, you're like...
Yep. And this is exactly why this is particularly a problem, is you have these great data sheets everywhere, and a large percentage of them can just move after you're done moving. And when you start adding that to the fastest army in the game, oh man, now it's really a problem, because they're faster than you on their turn, and they're faster than you on your turn. And that is where we get some issues.
You know what? And we'll take that. It's literally the most abusive stratagem in the game. And then let's talk about the combination. One, we take the most abusive unit in the game, which is Night Spinners. Fight me. There is literally nothing else that has a worse mechanic for everyone than Night Spinners. And you already go, oh, this thing that makes it so I can't advance and I'm -2 to move, -2 to advance, -2 charge, or sorry, can't advance, -2 to move, -2 to charge. You're like, well, that sounds awful. You're like, you know what else I can do? I'm going to take this other guy that has a rule. A rule, by the way, that used to be super cool that you had to think of for a while, and now you don't have to at all. Because the Incarn can literally be picked up on your turn if something dies anywhere on the board. If you were playing a 10,000 point 20-player match and 20 feet away from you, a unit died, you could set him down there and basically charge the same turn. Also, let me see the restrictions. They're pretty strong. Be 1 inch away. Oh, cool. Hold on, let me see what my charge is. I get to roll 2 dice, and 2 seems more than 1. So looks like I auto charge you. Yeah, but I probably will be okay. Let's look at the unit that's shooting me. Oh, it does devastating wounds, 2 damage on 6s. Oh, that's nasty. As long as it's not, twin linked. Oh, well, I'll hide from it. Oh, it's indirect. You know what? Maybe we should fight in the parking lot.
Yeah, this unit doesn't say when the game, it says we're fighting in the parking lot of Denny's after this.
Yeah. It's just, it's unfun. That's the problem is that anything that you can't, this is why, even besides the win rate, it's an issue. And this is why I haven't played them in 10th, because this isn't something that you can mitigate with your generalship. You just hope that they don't pick. I mean, you can try to, you don't put out your trash and stuff like that, and you do have to put your units away. But for the most part, if somebody just high rolls you with 3 Night Spinners and just goes, cool, your tank died. You're like, looks like I'm in your backfield, party with the Incarn. So I'm not bitter at all. I mean, like, you see how easily I walked over that.
Oh yeah, Brad could go for an hour. The thing you need to know about this, if you haven't played against it, is if you are not experiencing this combo all the time, it can be pretty cool to say like, oh well, that's kind of cool. But in reality, when you start playing against this, against someone who really knows what to do, it just makes the game very unfun, because not only, Brad's talking about the surface level stuff here. The other stuff is like when Brad and I were playing a test game one time, and I just got lucky and managed to almost kill a Squighog Rider with 1 Night Spinner. Then I got the option for like a 15-point play to shoot 1 Night Spinner, just kill 1 Squighog, teleport an Incarn over, and take Brad's home objective on turn 2. Now, it didn't happen because Orcs OP, but the fact that you can look for those plays all the time, and it costs you nothing to do that. You just start firing your Night Spinners, and plays open up all over the board because of that. That really is going to set them apart.
Let's go into the anti. Let's go into the guys that somehow, according to GW, are flying under the radar. What? Just CSM, who are winning almost as many. Actually, they're winning at a more GT clip. They're showing up in mass more than Eldar right now in top 8s. The CSM representation of top 8s is bonkers down. It's just crazy. These guys being played at the highest level are a nightmare. So basically, Dark Pacts makes everybody awesome. But the thing is that I love that you put powerful stratagems. They're undivided stratagem for 1 CP to reroll all hits and all wounds. People would pay, like, I would trade some stuff to get that in other armies. It is monster town.
Oh, whoa, hold on. It's not just that, because CSM stratagems you can use on other units. That is just 1 CP reroll ones to hit and wound on anything if you want.
True,
so
my bad.
You'd pay anything for that.
Yeah. It's such a ridiculous thing, because also they trade up. Hey, 110 points and a 75-point Lord can basically kill almost anything in the game. Oh yeah, it advances and charges. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, with all those rerolls, I can just go ahead and do exploding sixes and or lethal hits. Leave baby Jesus alone. So it's such a big deal. They also have an untargetable strat, and they can come off reserves. I mean, a Forge Fiend coming out of reserves, popping full hits and rerolls with explosions is just crazy time when you're like, so I took 10 to 12 devastating wounds, and I now have to take X amount of saves. You're like, what? Like, I don't even know what the hell just happened here. So, and it's a big deal because of the fact that they have wildly consistent, and we're seeing the same things in the top 2 armies here. It's consistency with rerolls and consistency in trading up. The wild thing is Eldar are still trading up, even though they've gotten hit with 3 point nerfs already. You know what I mean? Chaos has been matrixing all these nerfs somehow, and just came out last man standing, kind of like, hey, we're doing all right. Also, we crushed the top army in the game. Cool. So let's talk about why. Tell me about these strats, Sean.
So these are actually, I've been saying constantly, I've been practicing with CSM, not just CSM, but really to practice a specific role. And I use these 3 stratagems and kind of just like glance at the other ones from time to time. Why are these so good? Okay, so if you don't know, 1 CP for Dark Obscuration, it just means if you have the Nurgle keyword, which there is no paying anything extra, you just assign a unit a keyword. And one of them just lets you not be shot unless they're inside of 12. In addition to that, it also gives you stealth, which is pretty good just in and of itself. So that's a common theme, as I mentioned. All these strats can be used on
it's also
any unit.
Let's talk about things that they are used on. Hey, what is Nurgle? Oh, all of my transports. The one Forge Fiend that starts on board, the other one's undivided, so it just comes on and rerolls everything. And that's just so strong when you're like, I'm going to push up. You're like, well, if you're not right up on top of me, you're not shooting me. You're like, okay, well, isn't that a hand-to-hand unit that can advance and charge? After? Yes. Good, continue.
And then we get to, now you can't shoot me. Then we get to, I'm also going to either any unit fall back, shoot and charge, or if it has slash, which remember, I can just put on anybody that I want, it now can advance, shoot and charge. For 1 CP, the ability to do probably 2 of the most broken things in the entire game, which the more you play, you'll come to find that advance and charge is horrifying. Advance and shoot is amazing. And when you tag it, you try to tag a unit and it just falls back and acts normally. Oh man. So combine that with Warp Talons, 100-point unit, no big deal, right? Well, suddenly it moves 12 inches plus D6 and then charges, and you don't really want to commit anything to it. And at the same time, it's going to put out 20 attacks with exploding 5s, re-rolling wounds. And suddenly, any of their units are this little missile that can just trade into whatever they want to.
Because of Profane Zeal.
Exactly. So you get to use Profane Zeal, as I said. You can use it on undivided units, as Brad mentioned, for reroll hits and wounds, usually going on a Forge Fiend coming out of reserve, or Obliterators that drop out of Deep Strike.
Chosen.
Or on the Chaos Lord riding around with the Chosen in that Nurgle Rhino you can't shoot. And he's going to use it for free. Well, excuse me. The first Chaos Lord is going to pay CP. The second Chaos Lord is going to use it for free, thanks to his ability. And suddenly you've got this guy with Strength 9, AP 3, 3 damage, Dev Wound attacks, with exploding sixes, rerolling all his hits and wounds into whatever he feels like. Because Chosen also get to advance and charge. So these together just give you defense, mobility, and offense, just in 3 stratagems.
It's good.
Yeah, just a little bit. And we kind of skipped over Dark Pacts, the specific stuff. Khorne gets lethal hits. Zeech is also lethal hits, but only in shooting. Nurgle is sustained hits in shooting, and Slaanesh is sustained hits in melee. If you give them nothing,
remember, it's also sustained hits on a 5.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, these are all enhanced to be slightly better. So you get your bonus, and then it also goes off on 5s. I think the biggest thing here is this costs nothing to do. You just give these to a unit. You just choose when you're making your list. So you always know what they are. There's no downside to it, because it says if you fail that leadership test, you take D3. Whatever, man. I mean, I'm Marines. I'm going to roll a 1.
What's not even that? 2. Like, most of these guys can re-roll them, too.
Abaddon does give you the aura, and if you took a Chaos icon, which Chosen just have...
They're sick. Chosen just have it for free.
Yeah, you just get to re-roll it for free. So the chances that you fail are very, very low. And that's kind of just the summary of CSM in a nutshell. You got great strats that give you everything you want in a game of 40k. You have unbelievable damage thanks to these free keywords that give you bonuses. And it's not even just, okay, well, my army only gets sustained hits like orcs. You can choose lethal hits if you're playing against something big. And it's not an army choice at the start of the game. It's every single moment. This unit's going to be sustained. This unit's going to be lethal. This unit's going to be sustained. And it lets you perfectly line up your damage exactly where you need it every time.
I mean, it's just crazy on that. I mean, the ectoplasmic cannon is just bonkers. I put up the stats for the weapons now. It just, with dev wounds and full rerolls, with explosions, you're just like, ugh. It also comes with 3 of these. So, it was 3, 4?
Yep, 3.
Yeah, I'm just like, oof, just... Oof. But, and the biggest thing about this is, CSM currently plays combined arms the best. Because they have great shooting, they can shoot up. And they have great, it's not even just great. It's one of the few armies in the game that has hand-to-hand that's good, but it's not even just good. It's cheap good. You know what I mean? It's very, very, you're always trading up. And a lot of times, especially when you're looking at like GW boards and stuff like that, you can get off a lot of charges and then make people have to come over and commit something else of more value again. So you have your 185 point unit that killed something that's probably more than $185, and then something else that's more than 185 has to come over and do something about it. You're like, and then I'm going to trade up again. So, and woe is you if you can't get to it. It'll just do it again. So this army is just terrifying to me.
Yes, a real good thing as you guys are looking at this. Pause, take a screenshot, go look at your army that you're playing right now, and look at the damage stat lines for these points costs. And just compare. And you're going to see very, very quickly for how many points you have to pay to get the same amount of damage. Because remember, it's not just 1 ectoplasma cannon, it's 3. And you factor in those dev wounds that they can choose. And the dark packs, it's just going to be
well,
way
think about
more
things
than
like flesh metal guns. It's just bonkers. Even if you're firing just the big profile, you're like, oh, cool, I can deep strike and then fire and direct. And I've got even 2 guys with explosions and full rerolls. Oh, cool. And I'm also melted 2. So in case you were looking at that damage of 4, it actually goes to 6. So you're just like, what happened? Yeah, I picked up your stuff. Just move it. Move along. There's nothing to see. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Conveniently, they're well suited to take out any kind of profile you put into them. Because even if you're bringing a bunch of bodies, ectoplasma cannons have blast, the flesh metal guns have a blast profile, and you got a volume of attacks with explosions.
And it's a big deal in this because when you look at the Demon Hammer strats, those are not the stats. The stats are strength 9, AP 3, 3 damage, because that's what's happening when the Lord runs in. That's what you're getting hit with. It's not like he's going to think about it for a while. Maybe I should make my weapon ridiculous. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I love it. Looks at Chaos Armies across the room and Grinch-sized smile appears in your face. Yes, indeed, my friend. Indeed. So what we're going to say so that KR doesn't yell at me later is please like and subscribe to both the channels, Dice with Rice and, of course, Death of Glory, which we're watching this on, and or Dice with Rice, which you're watching it on. It really helps us out. It helps the metrics out. It lets us continue to do stuff.
And please check out our other videos. This is just a fraction of them at the bottom. We have done all sorts of faction videos, which is really just there for you to learn your faction, maybe understand the combos in a way you hadn't thought about, and really gives you a good way and kind of an outline to practice your games to get better with your army.
Now I want to go to one thing that GW, I think, did fantastic. Zero to Hero, Leagues of Votaan. This is an army where 10th edition was somewhere between last and ultra last. And they really changed it around. And I have to give them props because we throw them under the bus all the time. So I have to give them some juice on this. They took Votaan and did a mechanical change to it. They gave them 4 judgment tokens, or 4 units, I'm sorry, with 2 judgment tokens on them, and it's after deployment, so you can see where everything is. They also gave you the fact that if you kill one of those units that you put judgment tokens on like that, you can get 3 CP, which is delightful when you're just like, okay, this super hard unit, this super hard unit, this super hard unit, and these 5 scouts are getting double judgment tokens. You know, the ones right in front of my army to stop me from scouting? Yes, those ones. Cool. Thanks for the free 3 CP. That's too many. Oh my. But the big thing about this is they got that in simultaneously, they got a lot of point reductions. So they got way more stuff, and they got reliable judgment tokens where a good player can choose where they want them. And it became significantly better.
Yeah, we were at the point, a lot of people kind of hit the nail on the head. If you just start every game with +1 to hit and wound against your opponent's 3 best things and just got 3 CP, that's like really solid right out the gate. And one of the problems we talked about in the Votaan deal with it, you can go watch that too. One of their initial problems was you can't be killing their stuff and scoring points. And they said, cool, we'll just drop the points too.
Yeah.
So now you have very efficient costed units that you can take that still deal damage, and you got things like pioneers that can just move out, score points early, harass a little bit, and then the heavy hitters come in.
So I love Sages right now. The Sages, to be honest with you, no matter what you put on the Sag, it's good. Yeah, I mean, what guns? All the guns are actually really great with the Sagitars. Whether you go double missiles, beam, they all get the bolt cannon strapped on. For a hundo, that's a ton of shots for a great defensive profile.
And the scout. I think the big thing is the scout here, plus their move, plus the profile you choose, means you can be as aggressive as you want. Because sometimes you're just going to roll... Sorry, with the high las here. You're just going to roll a 6 and then just get extra shots and just delete something. And the fact that you can take, 5, 6 Sagitars, suddenly you have 1 turn of rolling up and your opponent's army just disappeared. And there's nothing your opponent can really do about it because there's all these las cannons just coming in at +1 to hit 1 and +1 to wound. And that's, man, especially when you combine it with some of those strats. They have probably one of the silliest strats, which is just, oh, you have judgment tokens? Look at me. Now I get sustained hits too. That's a powerful, powerful tool for 1 CP. And then when they try to return fire, you're just like, cool, Armor's Contempt. 1 CP again. So
that is true. I'm sorry, on the wall. Sagittars are also 1 wound under, bring it down. So you get
yep.
Ping, you're like, thanks for giving me very few VPs. That's annoying. Void armor contempt, never going to be bad. Sustained, okay. Ancestral Sentence is one of the most underrated in the game. Because if you have, it just gives sustained hits. However, if you have judgment tokens on you, it's double exploding sixes. That's bonkers town. Especially when you're talking about dropping down, blasting a unit with your Hearthguard and just looking for mortals and stuff. Holy shit.
Yes, if you notice the weapons I chose for the Sagitaurs, actually what we're seeing in a lot of high placing BCP lists, and you noticed they both have sustained hits on them, and then suddenly with your 1 CP strat, basically your orcs, because you just always have exploding sixes into whatever you want, and that's like their extra army rule on top of it, because there's no way you're not paying a CP every single shooting phase for this.
Oh, it's just crazy time. And you're going to shoot something with judgment tokens, so you get double exploding sixes. I mean, it's so good. 100%. T10 9 wounds is so much better than T9 10 wounds. Yes. So it's a big deal in this. And they have really good, really good damage. And the big thing about Votaan, the only reason that Votaan is, well, one of the many reasons, to be honest with you, isn't above Necron's Chaos, Eldar and Chaos, is the fact that they have very few data sheets. So they still have the issue with, you know exactly what they're going to take. There's not a whole lot of room for anything else going with it to evolve. So.
And as they develop more, honestly, with their codex release, they're going to get new units. I would almost guarantee it. And as they start to get more depth to them, they'll really start to shine.
I think if they can, 100%
things.
It's super powerful. They do some really good killing. They just have a hard time with basically being adaptable, to be honest with you, because of the very few data sheets. Because you're like, hey, we got 7 things we can bring. Yep, that's it. 7 good things. No, I mean like 7 things. Like just that's it. So let's go to Templars. Black Templars. I feel like I need to put an asterisk on this because it's Black Templars, but it's Black Templars because of like 2 things. You know what I mean? It's like these are Black Templar armies are kind of Black Templar armies. They're Black Templars like I have a fake ID Black Templars. I am also Johnny Silverdong on my thing here, because these are a variety of armies that play a lot of different detachments, but they want, I don't know, would you take a 5-point multi-melta on everything?
Yes.
Seems good.
That sounds good.
Would you take a cheap counter unit that you can slam into things with your free multi-meltas everywhere? So you can do a lot of MSU stuff and you can do a lot of trading up. And they've got some damn good vows, to be honest with you. You've got lethal hits, you've got feel no pains, and then you've got explosions. I'm sorry, you've got stuff against psychers, but I no one cares.
You're paying a CP. You're paying a CP for that one when you want it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, and you could just do any of them. Let's go over this slide for me.
Okay, so the strats that you want to be using here, yes, I included Armor of Contempt because when you're playing the Templar-specific index attachment, you are leaning into durability. We'll see that very soon, that one of Black Templar's characters' things is just make them durable. And that combines with the enhancement, Tannhauser's Bones, where you just pick a unit and make it durable.
Which is so bonkers, by the way. Like, I'm sorry, but like, what? You have damage and your unit gets a 5-up feel no pain? You're like, how much does it cost? Like 50? You're like, we'll get back to you on that one. It's not 50.
It's not 50. This actually brings up a good point, and this speaks to a lot of why Templars are good. And as we'll see soon, why Necron Wraiths are good. Mark Perry once told me 5-up feel no pains have the potential to break the game every time they're in the game. And why is that? Why is that? Because you can't ever effectively gauge your damage into a 5-up feel no pain. You just can't, because sometimes they're going to spike up and you're going to do nothing.
It's not even just the spike ups on this, because of the fact that what it does is it makes that you have to use 2-for-1s a lot. So when you look at it on paper, you're just like, oh, it takes away 33%. But you're like, no, it doesn't, because sometimes it takes away significantly more. Because if I shoot Sean with 3 damage weapons on 3 wound guys and he makes a feel no pain, well, now I have to put another 3 wound weapon result into that same guy with 1 wound. Cool, he dies now, but like that doesn't equal 33% when you start doing that over the course.
Because suddenly that one guy had 6 wounds, and you didn't know that at the start of the shooting.
Correct, exactly.
So that, you know, we've got that. We've also got kind of the toolbox aspect, and that's a big thing of why Templars are good right now. Yes, you've got the multi-melted detachment. I'm actually not even including the multi-melted detachment because like it's Iron Storm. You're just getting free multi-meltas and some Crusader squads with a reroll to hit and wound. That doesn't even bar like talking about. Like anybody can look at the list and figure that out.
I mean, that's what I'm saying though. It's Black Templars, but you're like, yeah, man, it's Iron Storm. It's just Iron Storm with they just spray painted Black Templar over the top of it.
The other 2 detachments, as we said, are the Index one and the Gladius, and really it's versatility and durability that you're adding. 1 CP in the Index, you just get to give an additional vow to one of your units. The fact that you can just do that at any point just gives you a whole ton of like play options at any point in the game. Combine that with the fact that if you want to take big blocks of either Sword Brethren or Crusaders, and your opponent just starts to shoot them with their 5-up Feel No Pain, and suddenly they live, they get closer to you. And, you know, you probably got one unit in a Land Raider of some variety, and then you have this other massive unit that keeps getting closer to you in your own turn, and you really don't want to engage it in melee because, you know, Templars are pretty good at melee.
Yeah, with the possible lethal hits, explosions, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
It's so much. It's so much to deal with all at once. And if you haven't ever seen it all together like this, that's kind of what I'm trying to show at these slides is you just take these things, and if you were to just like screenshot it and then start playing with the army, you probably still do pretty well because you still got things like Oath of Moment that you get for just being a Space Marine. And if you just got this and this page, you're going to win a good portion of your games.
Plus you have just the Gladius stuff, which is still just good.
Yep.
You know, one of the things I do miss playing a lot of Vanguard? Storm of Fire. Oh, Jeebus, that thing's good.
Yeah, this is kind of course, obligatory. Yes, you're a Space Marine. You know you have Armor of Contempt. We're not going to talk about that. You have so much versatility in Gladius to just do whatever you want at any point in the game. The fact that these are once per game uses army-wide does not matter. I only need it once to be really, really effective. And if on the off chance I need it on another turn, I will pay 1 to put that unit in that particular doctrine. When you combine that with the fact that they get the most powerful offensive enhancement in the game in Fire Discipline, it used to be Bolter Discipline.
Yeah, I would say Fire Discipline plus Storm of Fire is like, what just happened here?
Yes, and this is where we get to, hey, why are Black Templars good? Black Templars can be good because you get versatility from this list of combat doctrines. You get Fire Discipline on an Apothecary Biologist and some aggressors, and then you get all the Black Templar specific stuff, which just so happens to shore up Gladius's normal weakness, which is my melee kind of sucks outside these aggressors. And Black Templar says, hold my beer, I'll show you some good
I got
melee.
this.
Yeah. And of course, you've got squad tactics. You really can't ever count on Marines and Gladius being where they are if you're going to end within 9 of them, because they always have the option to move, and really the playmaking from that comes from the potential of it. So you've got these very tough, powerful shooting units. You've got these very powerful melee units from Black Templar specific stuff, and you've got a suite of good stratagems and rules to really help them play the game. And that's why.
And the thing is besides what you're taking, you always get this, which is their, the Crusade of Wrath, the High Marshal, Tactical Precision. They get a lot of really cool shit, to be honest with you.
Just for being Black Templars. Notice, this is on a separate slide because you get this. Whatever option you picked above, you get all of this too for being Black Templars. And Brad and Tom and I are kind of on the Ultramarines train, but looking at this, it's really easy to see why Black Templars, if you don't have a specific goal you want to try and conquer with your army, These guys are just good at lots of different things.
Oh, and the fact that they got the great characters, KR put it, he goes, the two reasonably decent characters, Hellbrick and Grimaldus are both bonkers town. And Grimaldus costs 95.
They both cost 95. That is the real selling point.
I forgot about that one too.
Yeah. For 190, you get two insane characters.
It's not even the fact that Grimaldus also comes with bros.
Yeah, he comes with extra guys. Yeah.
It's such a big deal. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, I'm holding this objective. Where the hell is Grimaldus? Oh, he's actually a little bit over. You can't see him because he's got a couple guys that he sent on a mission to go get some beers from the corner store. And while they were doing that, they also stood on the objective.
Yeah, again, same thing like we did with CSM. Open your book, open your codex, your index, pull it up on your phone. Look at how much Black Templars get for 95 points. If you just take Grimaldus, suddenly your unit has a 5-up Feel No Pain when it wants it. It gets rerolls to hit in melee, and then has access to all of the stratagems we just mentioned beforehand. That's on top of being able to sometimes increase their AP or, advance in charge, or fall back in charge. Like, whew, man, that's so much for 95 points. And yeah, he has a melee profile. Whatever. Don't care. You're just going to look at it every time and be like, oh, did I get through my sword brethren and you're alive? I got to figure out what Grimaldus does because I don't actually know.
That's true. It is funny because they just buff out so hardcore. So these guys are good.
Todd, actually, what I'm hearing is I should have just played Black Templars. They're pretty good, man, and we're talking about why they're pretty good. And when you see it like this, when someone takes, all these different rules to different places and just sticks them together, you go, wow, that's a lot of good stuff all in one place.
That makes me so angry. I gotta get my chi together. Plague Linen's list. I'm not. It's before. To be perfectly fair, I'm playing Rice and Tom's list. You want to know who I stole it from originally? Damn it!
Yeah, if you're watching, go check out the Tampa video that we did. At the end of it, I talked about where I would go with Ultramarines if I was going to play them, and spoiler alert, that list got second at the World Championships. I'm fantastic. Kudos to him for playing it all the way to there. Great job. Brad and I have been looking at that list since Tampa. So,
also, it's slightly different. I don't like the Eradicators as much. Let's talk about the number 5, because I think that this is the most skewing of the top 5.
It's so much fun to play.
The top, no, don't get me, you're 100%. But the top 2 are problems. And then you get into 3 and 4, and they have reasons that they're 3 and 4. Yes. We talked about what they have and the rules and stuff. World Eaters might be the most skewing list in the game. Hey, do you have the stuff to stop this? No? Cool, you lost.
Yep.
But it's a big deal in this because you've got Khorne units that are moving fast as grease lightning. So, and then you've got Angron, who's probably the best point for point big guy in the game.
Oh yeah.
Because, well, he comes back. So that's just a
yeah, not with X amount of wounds, not with it. He just comes back. You killed him, not really. He's back. He has plot armor actually.
Yeah, and let's talk about how far they can move. Okay, I'm going to go into exactly how to generate 450 points several times. Yes, but the big thing about them is the fact that they can make 27 and 28. This isn't. I'm not even talking Angron. Angron even moves faster, but we're just talking dudes, random dude. Also, if you play in England, apparently you can move even farther. So.
Yeah, the Europeans are a different level. Not even gonna touch that.
Yeah. But the thing is that he's giving bonuses to move. Angron has auras of that. Advance plus 2 to move. You can get advance and charge. You literally go cool. Also, there are double 6s or triple 4s. All of these things are just crazy. You also have a guy that re-rolls anything, so you can just make it happen on that. And the bigger thing is you got to figure that you're looking at plus 2 to move, advance and charging, strat for auto 6 to advance. So they want to get somewhere. They're getting out 3 with a +2 and then another 6. And you're like, where are you going now? Yeah, we're going there. It's happening. Also, I forgot to mention that, we can scout at the beginning of the game. That seems good.
Yeah, there ends up being a lot that world leaders have, and if you want to look at why the number 5 army, I mean, they can punch up and punch down. I think who was it? Was it Nassim who played at the Leicester? I'm sorry, Europeans, if I said that wrong.
You did completely, but I'm just letting you.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Keep going. Basically, the title of his list was "I'm just gonna go first 7 times," and he got like second. So I assume he went first a large majority of the time, and that is very true because when you're playing World Eaters, we also did deal with it on it. If you want to hear an hour-long breakdown of it, you could just be where you want to be. The full combo for maximum distance going is you pick advance and charge, you pick +2 to move, you pay a CP to auto 6 advance, and then Angron picks +1 to charge in his aura. And that is just a crazy amount of movement that you can start. You look at a 9-inch charge and go, I win the game if I make that, but I'm probably not going to make a 9. Suddenly it goes to an 8, and it's real tempting to just be like, I'm going to give you a 13. Oh, plus paint? No. I'm giving you a 13 on your score. and like, that's not even, you're not even being a jerk by doing that. You're just saying, like, I move so fast, and all I do is, I'm blood for the blood god. I'm looking for violence.
You gotta look at you have units that scout, so they're scouting 6, moving 9, +2. That's not even the guys getting out. That's not even the dudes advancing. You're like, what did I move at the beginning of the game? I started at a 17-inch move, and then I'll be advancing. Which means that if I roll that 6, or if I use the strat for a 6, I'm currently 1 inch off your deployment, and that's on a 24-inch deployment. Woe is you if we're playing Search and Destroy, because Search and Destroy is 13 inches from each other.
Yeah, so if you end up playing World Eaters on that and they go first, if you didn't bring infiltrating units, you're going to have a bad day. But let's talk about the other part of the slide, which is just look at your army and how many times can you just generate 415 points? Because World Eaters can do it like more than once. How are they doing that? Well, first you take an enhancement that just lets you re-roll these blessing die at the start of the game. Okay, sorry, not the start of the game.
Start of the turn. Yeah.
And then on top of that, Angron can come back if you just have 3 6s in that roll. And you go, okay, sure, 3 6s out of 8 die, that's not very likely. Okay, you get to re-roll. And then after you've re-rolled that, for every icon you have, when they're in range of an objective marker you control, you get to re-roll another die. And you go, wait a minute, you can't re-roll a re-roll. Yeah, you can. Corn doesn't care about.
Yeah, Corn doesn't care. Corn doesn't care. He doesn't get those whole things.
And that's not a joke. Corn doesn't care.
Again, I love the fact that Favorite of Corn just straight up says, I know we say you can't re-roll a re-roll, but just go ahead and re-roll the re-roll just in case.
Yes, and you think, okay, great. So I'm rolling, I'm re-rolling, I'm rolling 1 or 2 die. That doesn't really do it for me. Okay, what if you had a 1 CP stratagem when you killed a unit to just make another roll? And yes,
in addition to the other roll,
you can in fact roll 3 6s and bring Angron back off that. And when they hit it, they have now generated 415 points. And if you have played Angron correctly, and this is why World Leaders is number 5, you just hurl Angron into them. They deal with him. Who cares? He's back. You're now playing 2415 points against 2000. And if they do it again, you're paying 2830 against 2000. And that's really
it's crazy on this because with the 1 CP strat, they're effectively saying, I get that in addition to the other things. Like, nothing goes away. Like, hey, we had advance and charge, and we either had +2 to movement, we put Fino Pain, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times what they're going to do is when they're not looking, while Angron's still on the board, you're just talking just about Angron coming back. But you can pop that, literally kill a unit, and then go, cool, you get to swing back now. I now have Feel No Pain. Because I needed advance and charge, I needed a +2 move, and I'd like some defense now. So now that I've murdered somebody because I just moved, I don't know, 30 some inches across the board with my charge, now you get to go, but I really don't want to take all the wounds back.
Or the World Eater special of, hey, this first unit is going to go. I'm going to kill your screen unit, and oh, look at that. Now I have exploding sixes as well. Now I'm going to hit everything else really hard.
Yeah, well, I guess we should talk about Angron, but to be perfectly honest with you, I want to talk about the Master of Executions. Angron's like the poster boy, and the Master of Executions is actually the guy that's clocking in, working those extra shifts, making this company go. Because that dude hits hard for a tiny amount of points.
Yeah, that is another one that you can choose and get value out of, and it's going to be in every list because World Eaters doesn't have a whole lot of units you can pick from, so you're kind of priced into the ones that you got.
Also, you just give him the glaive, and all of a sudden he says, well, I get an extra D3 attacks. What does that do? Well, I'd like to add that number of attacks to my damage, if that'd be okay with you. You're like, that seems broken. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do that instead, though. Also, just letting you know if I get a devastating wound. You're like, where are you getting those from? Oh, I just come with that shit. And so, here, I'm damage 5 now. You're like, well, that seems like a lot. You're like, oh, it is. How much did you cost? Yeah, it's not 3 digits. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah. And then we have the best point on the second part of the slide, which is in the case where they don't go first, and sometimes even when they do, they just have a 1 CP. Oh, did my unit die and I controlled that? Yeah, I'm going to sticky that. So I know I don't have any units left on the table. I still actually get max primary. And they're going to utilize that every time they play. Because you know what's better than beating your opponent? Beating your opponent and having no models on the board.
I can't even tell you the amount of points that have been scored against me when I'm playing World Eaters, when I've murdered everyone, and then there's just some little icons way in the back sitting on objectives, and I'm like, no. Yeah, that upsets me quite a bit.
It's a good day for Khorne when there's no models left on the board.
True story.
And that's how World Eaters likes it.
Blood for the Blood God doesn't mean just your opponent's army. It means your army also. Also, Angron has a pretty decent stat line. I don't know if you guys have been looking at that.
Yeah, there's one part that actually matters on here, and it's not even the one you're thinking of. He's OC6. This is the point where like you don't want to shoot him because he's just tanky enough. And, for the previous slide, he's probably going to come back. Like if they really want to maximize every turn trying to bring him back, they can do a really good job of it. But then you try to what is it? What is the word? Where you're trying to dance around it. You're trying to dance around dealing with him. And he's like, hi, I'm here. I'm OC6. I don't even care.
Well, it's super annoying because typically against a lot of things you go, whatever. I'll just put 5 rando models on the same objective and deal with it later. You're like, well, it's still mine. You're like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm just enough OC where you have to feed me extra shit. So,
you're setting up the lose-lose because you're gonna throw Angron onto the point. Angron, if they choose to shoot him, dies. You pay CP, you keep the point. Then you just roll your dice and bring Angron back, and they're like, well, I accomplished nothing, and you're like, that sounds about right. Yep.
And this is a big deal of. I want to go over let's key back into the reasons that the armies that are doing well are doing well. And most of it is movement. Let's look at all the things they can do. We've got a bunch of armies that can do advance in charges, scout moves, redeploys, bring things back. I don't know, an Angron and coming back in your turn seems bad when he rapid ingresses him in. Mm-hmm. So, and you have all the Eldar shenanigans, of course, Chaos Space Marine shenanigans. We didn't even go over the fact that the Accursed Cultists get a once a game advance in charge, +1 to hit, +1 to wound from a giant amount of guys. Oh, just the big guys themselves, 66 + 12 attacks that you can again get full rerolls on that are strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. It's basically a heavy bolter in combat. And things like that. All of these things have movement manipulation. The Votaan, scout moves, the ability to pick the bikes up and just leave the board. All of these armies have movement abilities, and they also have consistency with rerolls, ability, redundancy in units and stuff. You're looking for, anytime you're looking at any of these top armies, they have, to be fair, a lot of the same thing over and over and over again. they have answers, but they have more than one answer that's doing the same thing on that. So salamanders aren't top 5. They're working their way up there. Vulcan never dies. Eventually he'll be number 1 as the only guy left.
Yeah, if you actually take a look at each of these armies. So just for everybody, again, we have Eldar at number 1, CSM at number 2, we got Votaan at number 3, Black Templars at number 4, and finally World Eaters at number 5. And if you look at them, they basically look at mobility, durability, versatility, and they pick 2 of the 3, usually. Eldar sometimes picks all 3.
I would say Eldar picks all of them.
They pick all 3, but for the most part, they're doing that. CSM has, with these deep strikes, with these high damage plays, they're picking their mobility of coming off board edges, and they're picking advance and charge, and then they're just overwhelming offense, and that's the kind of their versatility, and that you really don't get a chance to play the game if you don't have any models left. World Eaters, speed, not necessarily durability, but the fact that they die and they keep their objectives, and you spend the whole game dealing with them instead of actually playing.
It's funny because of their nuclear option, they can be a very tactical army at the top levels. That's why they win at the top levels, because you can just scare people off objectives. Get on, get. You're like, oh no, he could charge me. I'm ready for the charge. And then they go, yeah, we're not going to charge this turn because I'm standing on 3 objectives and you have 1. And I literally can do this the rest of the game and just win. So go. And then you go, oh no, I have to do something now. Crap, I'm out of position. So there's a lot to deal with that. There's a lot of terrifying armies here.
Yes, and we know just because your army isn't here in the top 5. Where did I get these from? I took it from everywhere. I did it from GW. I did it from Stat Check. I did it from Meta Monday. I pulled one more out of there. I don't remember where I got the other one from, but basically just taking the aggregate.
Big Girl's House of Stats.
Exactly, Big Girl's House of Stats. Thanks, Brad. I really appreciate you coming in clutch there.
You're welcome.
But that's where this comes from. And it does not mean your army is bad if it's not here. It does not mean your army can't compete. It just means that where we're at right now, the meta is going to change in January when we get a data slate and we get more codexes. But for right now, these are the top 5, and this is kind of why.
And the thing is that when you're looking to replicate this with your faction, you have to do what the top armies are doing, which is, do I have that speed? Do I have that versatility? Do I have the ability to manipulate in game? And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to take, again, we'll go over more factions as we go with the deal with it, which is making sure that you have those abilities to play against. Always lean into your strengths. Don't try to make your faction a different faction. Play the strengths of your faction.
Yeah, you're not seeing CSM out here like, I'm the most durable thing to ever exist. They're like, hold my beer. Let's see how much damage I can do in 1 turn. Like, let's ring the bell when I've done 100 wounds worth of damage in a turn.
On our last couple of minutes, I do want to go in that. KR, we're going to talk about your custodes at a different day. That's a data sheet. That's a tomorrow Brad problem. Yeah. What do you go in 1+? You go, where do you think new Necrons and AdMech fall on the list or shake it up? I'm terrified that AdMech are doing something behind the scenes that I don't know about, because I haven't really looked into them a ton. I just kind of really glossed over the top and saw if anything sprung out at me besides just, breacher spam and stuff like that. And so I don't know 100% on that. And the big one right now is, tell you the truth, Kara, that's a good point. He goes, all these are top 5 index armies. I think they're doing a fantastic job with the codices, and the more codices we get, the more balanced the game's going to be.
Yes.
As long as they continue this trend. Every single book we've gotten has been good, not OP, and had a shit ton of options in it.
That is exactly where I want 40K to be, KR. I want the fact that you have these problems, but they're here and they're in indexes, means they can learn from these as they make some of the later codexes. And it means we're going to be in a more balanced state for longer once you get it balanced. And, Brad and I like to poo-poo on GW, but they're actually doing a really good job.
Well, the codices, they're doing it great. Seriously, if the state of the game was just these codexes that have come out, the game would be magnifique, but it's not. You know what I mean? So we have issues with some other stuff. But the thing is that they're making it. Now, where did Necrons go? I think Necrons go kind of where they are right now, but it's wildly different. So like,
oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So when Lichguard, I'm not going to go with the last Meta Monday when they're like 46%. I'm going to go with when they were hovering around like 52%.
They were 52% for like a while.
Yep. I think that's exactly where you may not like this, but I think the Wraith build that's just like, how many Wraiths can I play? I think that's actually like right there. The Hypercrypt is very fun, but I don't know. I think it struggles with the same problem that Grey Knights have, which is we're like pretty durable, but our damage isn't amazing. And then once you start to utilize the Hypercrypt ability to go off the board, you struggle to get on those objectives because you're taking lots of stuff down, you're moving around a lot, but you're not actually getting exactly where you want to be every time.
Yeah, it's just, but I think that Necrons are going to be at the 50, 51, 52. And I think they're going to be, at a really great place in the meta because they're not going to be OP, but they can win against anything, to be honest with you.
I think that's actually very true. They're maximizing.
Hurtful Hootie. Ouch. Come on. Too soon.
Oh, this is more. Yeah, actually, if you just want to, send tissues Brad's way because he's just getting eviscerated. But yes, you're right, Austin. Wraiths are a profile you can break, but remember, it's not just the Wraiths. It is including that Technomancer with the Philippine, and they will be more difficult than you think to deal with on paper. So just remember, if you're going to commit, it's like committing to a Lichguard brick. You don't ever just put a few shots into the Lichguard brick. You put everything or nothing. You either dance around them and try to deal with other things, or you overcommit and make sure they're gone, because otherwise they'll slowly start to rebuild, and that is
you know what?
No
to tell you the truth, I actually agree with Gaming Garo over this because I think that Eldar, even if there is no data slate, you know what I mean? I think that Necrons by themselves are going to cause problems. The Wraith army specifically is going to cause Eldar problems because of the fact that it does what Eldar don't like, which is jam them in the corner now. So I agree with that. I think they're going to be tough for people, or tough for the Eldar.
Yeah, there's a real argument to be made that just a bunch of Wraiths starting in front of Eldar and then just touching everything, and Eldar's like, I only have so many, die to use every time to kill one of these things. And then you're like, oops, made one more 5-up than I should have. Guess you're going to spend another turn doing that. It's really going to put them through the ringer, especially if they do what we've talked about in our data slate videos, where they're probably going to nerf Wraithguard and the Night Spinners, maybe going to touch on the Incarn if they hear Brad yell loud enough. I think they're really going to struggle to deal with all those raids just everywhere all the time.
Also true, Austin. Race only make my orcs happier for a matchup. Yes. It's just this Necrons versus orcs sounds super fun to play. The Canoptic versus orcs. Plus, I can't wait for the orc book to come out. We will definitely tackle that immediately, and I will make tons of wrong predictions, but it'll be super exciting.
That's Brad's special. Just be wrong, have me tell him it's right, and then shamelessly steal my idea and tell me it was his all along.
Oh, 100%. The best is I only say that when you're around.
True.
Hootie, with Mechons, revisiting the Mechons possibly, but the Orc Codex is coming out soon enough where I'm not going to be fair, I'm not going to revisit anything. I'm just going to wait for the book because I don't want to come out with another idea because I really like where my list is right now, and I don't want to try to revamp it just in time for a book to come out so I can set that on fire and move on. But when the new Orc book drops, I will be on it like flies on shit. It's going to be awesome. And also I'm also a child, so not only is it a faction I love, but I also like something new, and I can only keep my attention span for about a minute and a half. So with that being said, go to Dice with Rice, do some stuff, maybe even some things. Check out 40K Lorecast. I just dropped the Orc, the first of 3 Orc Lorecast video, or whatever they're called, podcasts. I don't even know where I am right now. I started off so strong, and now I'm here. So with that being said, Queen's Wave.